to join the even more extreme ISIS. That means the relatively small terror group now has even more fighters as they continue their march toward Baghdad. I want to show you something over on the wall. The red in this area that I'll show you right up here is the area that the militants have now seized. Notice the red area has grown in recent days. This yellow area that we've added around the extremes here, that yellow area is where extremists are fighting for control. And we've been watching it spread by the day. Iraqi officials are telling the Associated Press that Prime Minister Maliki is in essence giving up on some of those areas in yellow. They say he's pulling back his best troops to defend Baghdad. Now at the Pentagon they're saying there is a legitimate threat that now the capital, Baghdad, could fall. Something many analysts said just days ago simply could not happen. In fact, the BBC interviewed some of the militants who vowed to reach Iraq's capital and said that Baghdad will fall in less than 1 month. Let's get to Catherine Herridge for some sanity in all this, live in Washington. A lot of rhetoric out there, Catherine. Help us understand the facts.
Well, Shep, congressional sources are confirming to Fox News that a major opportunity to launch airstrikes was missed about a month ago when ISIS was still in the camps on the Syrian border and away from city centers. And when ISIS began to move personnel and heavy equipment, the U.S. military assessed that the terrorist group was at its most vulnerable. Today, the chairman of the powerful House Intelligence Committee confirming multiple warnings from the intelligence community.
Training camps get built and developed. We watched them get weapons. We watched them get finances. We watched Western passport holders show up at these camps. We watched it all.
Asked whether American recruits are now among the ISIS fighters, a senior intelligence official told reporters that it's a given, Shep.
All right, so we already knew that some who had other interests within Iraq were working with ISIS. Now we hear about this other group. What do we know about their collusion?
Well, congressional sources also confirmed to Fox News that the most lethal al-Qaeda affiliate, al-Qaeda in Yemen, now has operatives in Syria, and they are working with the official al-Qaeda affiliate there known as the al-Nusra Front to share bomb-making techniques for improvised explosive devices, and they are also sharing operatives. The relationship between the al-Qaeda leadership in Pakistan and this man, the leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, is now described as two warring crime families, with al-Baghdadi wanting to pursue external operations on a faster timeline than the leadership in Pakistan. And even before today's reports that AQ fighters in Syria are now joining ISIS, a senior intelligence official told Fox News that their best guesstimate is that there are roughly 10,000 fighters split between Syria and Iraq, the majority 7,000 in Syria, and the remainder in Iraq, Shep.
Catherine Herridge, live in Washington. Thank you. Let's get to Iraq now and go to Baghdad, where the Reuters news agency's Baghdad bureau chief, Ned Parker, is with us. Ned, thank you.
Glad to be with you.
The militants' insistence that Baghdad could fall within a month. It's my understanding from your reporting, reading it and hearing it about it, that in essence Baghdad seems pretty normal. Is that the case?
Normal within the context of Baghdad. There's obviously a danger, but life goes on right now, and it's debatable how long it will take for Baghdad to fall or not fall. I would be somewhat skeptical of rhetoric from different groups, but we'll see what happens.
Based on your reporting, Ned, the facts on the ground, what are these insurgents doing? What is this ISIS group plus all of those who are with them doing? Are they holding what they've gotten and preparing, or how would you assess it?
Well, I think in the north, they're basically holding what they have, and you do have a counteroffensive by the Iraqi forces, and it's significant that the Beji refinery in northern Iraq, the largest refinery in the country, has not fallen, although the refinery itself is surrounded by different armed groups. So there's a back and forth going on. Different fronts are in better shape than others, and the Iraqi government faces a very complicated, dangerous situation.
It's a complicated and dangerous proposal for the Americans as they make decisions on what to do next. From your reporting on the ground, should they decide to go with some sort of airstrikes at some point, are there identifiable targets? Is there a way that some military force might be, from your reporting, able to stop this progression?
Well, I don't have access to the intelligence that the Americans and Iraqis are sharing. I talk to people. What we hear from U.S. officials is that they don't have access for doing great targeting. U.S. military commanders who worked in Iraq in the past say that the Iraqi intelligence is not great, And to be able to take the steps to start hitting targets that the Iraqi government would want to hit, you really have to be able to develop that on the ground. So perhaps the arrival of these advisors is the first step towards doing that.
Is the most serious problem that this ISIS group has come through, or is it that the populace there is allowing it because they feel ostracized and kept apart from the central government?
Right. It's a good question that you raised, because ISIS moved and took Mosul very quickly, perhaps more quickly than it imagined. And then the local population, which is deeply disenchanted, was willing to accept, the local Sunni population was willing to accept ISIS's presence. Also, other armed groups that had members who probably fought ISIS or its earlier incarnation in 2006, 2007, were willing to fight along ISIS now because they are so upset and disillusioned. The question becomes, are there fighters or groups alongside ISIS that are co-optable, that are reconcilable? And that needs to be explored. I was talking with a former U.S. military commander earlier today. He said to have a successful plan for the Iraqi government, not only do they need to have a strong military plan, but they also need a strong political plan.
Ned Parker speaking to us from Baghdad, the Reuters news agency's bureau chief there. Ned, it's nice to speak with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
A suicide